Over 1,000 adult New Zealanders were contacted at random by Curia, the same people who do the taxpayers polls, and obviously are pretty reputable. You've heard David Farah on the show on a number of occasions, talking about what should be prohibited or what should be taught in our primary and secondary schools as part of the curriculum, and as really addressing issues around, I guess, gender difference and gender changing, including the use of puberty blockers and the like, and hormone treatment and surgery even, and whether that should be taught to primary school teachers, primary school children, as part of the health curriculum. It's not just to primary school children, but also to year 9 and 10, I would have thought as well. They ask questions, for example, should some people have proposed banning puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones and physical sex change surgeries for children under the age of 18 who identify as transgender. Would you support this kind or oppose this kind of ban? Or should a teacher lose their teaching licence for misgendering a trans student, i.e. refusing to use their preferred pronoun or recognise their gender identity after they have changed their gender? Also, questions about whether or not transgender children should be, or students should be allowed to participate in their chosen transgender for sporting purposes as well. To join us to talk about this, the poll, and puberty blockers in particular, and whether or not they should be available to those who are thinking at under the age of 18 of changing their gender, is Suzanne Levy, and for Speak Up for Women. Suzanne, welcome to the show. I haven't talked to you before, but I understand you've been on Sean's show on this issue on a couple of times. Can you just explain what your organisation, because I'm vaguely aware of the Posey Parker issue, but that's it for me, and I imagine for most of the people in New Zealand. What is Speak Up for Women as an organisation, please?
Well, Speak Up for Women believe that sex matters. So we sort of work in the area where we're looking at issues where your biological sex, or your sex, as we should really call it, it still matters. Because obviously there are lots of times when it doesn't matter, but the times when it does matter are really, really important. So the times when, for women in particular, when they're vulnerable, we have separate services and spaces and facilities and sports for a reason, and that reason is our sex. It's not how we feel; it's what we are. So where we sort of work is in the area where it does matter. So we're kind of working to highlight the issues, highlight what our current laws say, and just work with people who are concerned about these things.
Right. So your and your background in this is, so how did you get to become a spokesperson for this group?
Well, I learned about Speak Up for Women about 4 years ago. I'm a lesbian and a mum, and some of the issues were brought to my attention, and I found them quite staggering. The idea that there are men who say that they're lesbians, and that lesbians are having trouble having meetups and groups that exclude men. I found that quite remarkable, and once I started looking into it, it got worse and worse. And I looked at I was involved in Save Women's Sport with Roe Edge, who I think you've probably spoken to before.
Yes.
And I was involved in that sort of side of things, because I'm also a keen sportswoman. And from there, I moved into the sort of leadership team of Speak Up for Women, and that's where I am now.
Now, I can't imagine it's been a very comfortable place for you to be, given that there is a prevailing orthodoxy, certainly in our mainstream media, for transgenderism to be almost a sort of, a religion, a view that that's the way it should be. Do you find yourself getting much coverage when you have your messages from the mainstream media?
Oh, very, very little coverage. It's a bit of a media blackout on it, really. It's, we provide the media with all sorts of content, and it's pretty much ignored. And that's kind of what we've got used to, really. So now we actually just publish on our website and let the media know, rather than giving them the honour of having it first. It just kind of we just publish it, and we get plenty of discussion, we get plenty of support. It is a religion in my eyes. It works like any ideology where it's just belief. It's nothing factual. So it feels like we're working against a cult. Where the no one will say that the emperor's not wearing any clothes.
Yes, I think
so.
I can identify with that concept.
It's not the most comfortable place to be, but at the same time, there are an awful lot of people who do support us and agree with us, and you tend to, we obviously hear from those people a lot. We hear from the others as well, because we're sort of not wanting to close down the debate. We want to talk about it, so we try to keep channels open rather than sort of blocking and cancelling everybody who doesn't agree. We're always willing to speak and talk and have those conversations, which is just what unfortunately doesn't happen, because the opponents, if you like, aren't actually interested in having discussions. They have their mantras, like any cult, which are trans woman are woman, trans rights are human rights, and there's not really a lot else that they say, and there's not really anywhere to go with that. So it's hard. They're up against factual evidence and don't seem to really have much comeback if we sit down and have a talk.
You've also struck, because the Liberals love this issue as well, so I noticed that you had a bit of a contretemps with Deborah Coddington, actually a former ACT MP, who had written that Posey Parker should be banned from coming to this country, full stop. And you wrote against that, saying that was just ridiculous. The very fact that Deborah Coddington did actually have those views, when she had previously been a proud parliamentary representative of a libertarian party that valued free speech, or values free speech and thought, did that strike you as odd?
Oh, look, a lot of it strikes me as odd. I'm a traditional, left-wing voter. I don't think I've ever really voted anything else. So I find it extraordinary that it's the left that are abandoning a whole sort of free speech, and Liberals like Deborah Coddington. Actually, that's a good example. That op-ed that is published on our website, and I think it was on Plain Sight as well, which was my reply to Deborah Coddington. We offered that to staff as a reply, and it wasn't accepted. And to me, that's the sort of thing that they should be, if they're actually wanting to engage in any sort of meaningful conversations about this stuff, is that they should be publishing from both sides. And they published Deborah Coddington's piece, and they rejected my piece as a response.